Welcome to Magic Hour. I'm your host, Paul Chappell, and today we take a look at Coming to America on Amazon Prime. That's right, Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, James Earl Jones, Morgan Freeman, Wesley Snipes, Leslie Jones, John Amos. Oh my God, was anybody not in this freaking movie? It's crazy. Tracy Morgan, of course. God, I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I think the only black stars that wasn't in this movie was Denzel and his son. But even Trevor Noah was in the movie as an African correspondent on ZNN, Zamunda News Network. I thought that was kind of funny. He was probably the only only real African that was in the movie. But he had a funny little part. Oh, yeah, also Michael Blackson was in it. So I guess he's African, right? So two Africans in the movie, and every African American in America. I had very mixed feelings about this movie. It was kind of like coming home, going to a family reunion with all the relatives you actually like. So it was kind of disheartening that I didn't enjoy it more. But I could go ahead and tell you why I feel that way. But let me go into the plot a little bit. The plot is basically the same from the first movie in a lot of ways. It's still a question of succession. James Earl Jones is about to die and tells Akeem that he has a son. And for some reason, his father knows this, but he doesn't. So, okay. Simi tells him the story. Basically, he got Leslie Jones pregnant when they were like going to clubs and talking to all these women, trying to find the perfect woman in Queens. And they went back to her place, and she basically drugged Eddie Murphy and had sex with him. So Eddie Murphy feels like he has to find his son, not only because the guy is his son, he has some outside pressure. Remember the woman he was supposed to marry in the first movie? Well, she has been jumping on one leg and barking like a dog for 30 years. Now, the problem with that is, when you think about it, that's not very funny, but whatever. It's a comedy, so they can get away with that. The brother of that woman that Eddie did that to is a powerful general in a neighboring country. Now, the country's called Nextdora. Okay, I was just insulted by the name, but okay. Of course, they're leaning on the idea that Americans don't know the name of African countries. Fine, whatever. But I thought they could have been just a tad bit more creative with coming up with that name. But okay, whatever. Eddie doesn't have any male heirs. So that's why he needs his son back in New York. He has 3 daughters. This general, who's the brother of the woman Eddie was supposed to marry, is kind of mad because of what Eddie did to his sister. And he insisted Eddie has one of his daughters marry his son. Okay, so there's the pressure that Eddie has over him, because while this next door neighbor country is poor, they have a lot of military might, and Akeem is afraid he's going to be assassinated by this guy played by Wesley Snipes, General Izzy. Okay, so that's the broad plot. Here's the rub. As we know, Akeem was not a traditionalist in the first movie. In fact, I felt like this movie was kind of a comment on conservative versus liberal values, because liberal values tell us that women are equal and all that stuff, and that we should not have a monarch. In fact, the conservative regimes of yesteryear always supported the monarch. They like authoritarian power. So Akeem was against that. He was more liberal minded. He wanted to marry for love. And here he is in a position where he has to arrange a marriage to keep from having a war with this guy in the neighboring country. So that's the broad plot. That's the conflict that he's dealing with. His wife is telling him, you were never a traditionalist. Why are you doing this? And he's ignoring her because he wants to live up to what his father left, the example that his father set for him. And furthermore, he's king now. So it's different when you're a prince and you have expectations. It's totally different when you're actually a king. So he has these conflicts he has to deal with. So I like that aspect of the movie. All the characters had clear-cut motivations. Of course, when he meets his son is trying to make it in the world. He's scalping tickets at the stadium. I guess it's Yankee Stadium. I don't know that much about New York. But he's doing things that are not totally on the up and up. He tries to go for a job. And I thought this was funny because he goes in for this interview. And the person interviewing him is Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live. That's right. And guess what? He's the grandson of the Duke and Dukes. Now, this is significant because Akeem inadvertently brought back the Dukes because they were homeless after trading places, right? They were homeless after trading places because they lost all their money. Akeem gives them a load of money when they're homeless on the street. And you remember that scene where they said, we're back. They went on and established another financial dynasty, I guess. And now Colin Jost is their great grandson. And that seemed kind of weird to me because I don't remember them having children, but whatever. So Eddie's son is interviewing with him, and it kind of annoys him that this guy who inherited all his money is telling him he's not good enough for this job. So you got that conflict with Eddie's son. I like the guy they got to play Eddie's son. He was very believable and empathetic, I would say. Jermaine Fowler, I haven't seen this guy in anything else, but I really liked him. I really could see him as Eddie's real son. I mean, they got somebody, I think, that approached that level of sincerity that Akeem had in the first movie. So I really enjoyed his performance. But the movie kind of reverted back to being more about Akeem. Because the conflict that his son Lavelle is having is something we've seen before. And I think the true mark of a sequel is to do some of the same things you saw in the original movies, but to do everything differently at the same time. For the most part, it succeeded in doing that. So the plotting was okay. Here's the rub. This movie's called Coming to America. Coming to America. Not Coming to America 2 like I thought, which would have been kind of silly now that I think about it. But America is in the title, and yet they only spend about 10 minutes total. And I'm not even exaggerating. They spend 10 minutes total in America. Most of the movie takes place in Zamunda, which is fine, but I just thought that was weird. But that was one of my first criticisms of the movie, that part of the fun of the first movie was seeing conflicting African values with American values. And really the rich versus poor thing, fish out of water, so to speak. And they did it the same thing in this movie in a lot of ways by putting it in Zamunda, because Lavelle is a fish out of water. He has all these expectations of what being rich would entail, and yet his very nature is going against it, which I liked. He's genuinely a good guy. But he's going around Zamunda and he's trying to be this princely dude, and it's kind of rubbing against his queen's values. And at the same time, Leslie Jones is like a bull in a china shop, and she's drinking and just having fun and rubbing up against Eddie's real wife and just being really inappropriate. Tracy Morgan is playing Lavelle's uncle, Leslie Jones' brother, and he's having a little bit of fun. I wish they would have used him a little bit more and let him ad-lib a little bit more. I felt like he was being restrained by whatever the script called for. But here's my first major criticism, besides the thing about it being not in America. My first major criticism of this movie is the fact that 90% of the jokes were self-referential. To put it a better way, they reference the first movie. It's like they're winking at the audience the whole time, saying, "Remember this character that you liked from the first film? Well, we're going to bring him back in a little cameo and have him do more of that same stuff that you liked in the first movie." They had a lot of that. In fact, I would say the only super funny scenes were in that barbershop. In fact, I'm wondering why did they just make another barbershop movie? Because we visited this barbershop in Queens with the old men. We visit them at least, I think, maybe even 3 times. And I was like, wow, they should have had Ice Cube in this movie, or Queen Latifah, somebody. So it wasn't as funny as it could have been. It relies on the fact that you've probably seen this movie, and this movie, or I should say the original movie. The original movie has been seen all over the world. In fact, I saw an interview with Eddie Murphy talking about how popular it was worldwide, and it has an all-black cast except for Louis Anderson. And I didn't even think about that. It did have an all-black cast. So this movie was a phenomenon, and everybody has seen it. And it was relying on that for most of the jokes, which I thought was kind of a problem. I would like to have seen some more originality, and it was lacking in a lot of originality. Now, there were so many standout performances. Don't get it twisted. It was a very well acted movie. Wesley Snipes was great in this movie. There was a lot of other little things that I liked that had nothing to do with comedy. I liked looking at all the beautiful women. Oh my God. Wesley Snipes has this daughter, and she is freaking perfection. Played by Tiana Taylor. She's just, I don't know where she came from. I've never heard of her. Apparently, she worked with Kanye West, but she's just, woo. I mean, if I had been Lavelle, I would have definitely gone for the arranged marriage but here again, Lavelle runs into the same problem that Akeem ran into the first movie. This woman doesn't have a personality of her own. She only wants to be queen, and that's it. She only wants to do what he wants to do. She only wants to watch movies he wants to watch. She has no interest outside of him. So we have that played up, and we also have a lot of themes that get played up. I don't want to ruin too much of it. I don't know what I really would give this movie as a grade. I guess I would give it a 3. Like I said, it's like a nice family reunion. I liked everybody in the film, including quote unquote the bad guy, played by Wesley Snipes. He was even likable. It never really got harsh. There was some fighting between him and some other people. I won't mention that, but just go watch the movie. I think for the most part people will enjoy it, but I was expecting a little bit more raw humor, and I just didn't get that. It was well written. I think that's the problem. They were so concentrated on just making sure everybody had something to do with this movie that they forgot to bring the fun, the funny. So I think that was the biggest problem with it overall. It was a worthy effort. I'll just say that. So that's it. That's all I got for today. I'd like to thank my subscribers. Encourage you. Hit that subscribe button. Share. Please share. And give me a like or a dislike down below. Either one would help me out. Ring that bell if you're already a subscriber so you know when my next video drops. And I will see you when I see you. Thanks for watching.